What's up, guys? It's your bro, Rich here again. Today in this video, I'm back with another car explanation video for y'all. And today I'm gonna be taking a bit of a break from doing Fast and Furious cars for a little bit, and just do some, and just, and just do some cool cars and whatnot. So, with that being said, let's get started with today's video. So, today in this video, I'll be talking to you about one of the most iconic muscle cars in the whole muscle cars, muscle cars. Sorry, muscle cars in the whole world. So today in this video, I'll be talking to you about one of the most iconic muscle cars in the whole world, which is the mighty Pontiac Firebird. So this is one of those cars that was just legit iconic, mainly because it's the first two, the Gen 1. Well, not really the Gen 1, but both the Gen 2 and 3. Yes. The Gen 2 starred in y'all know this one, the legendary franchise Smokey and the Bandit with the man with legend, God rest his soul, may rest in peace. The driver who drove the car. The driver who drove the car, Burt Reynolds. That's right, he was the guy who drove. That's right, he was the guy. He was the guy who drove the he was the guy. He was the guy who drove the Trans Am in the movie. Super damn cool. And the funny part was he was waiting the police and they get pissed off. It was just hilarious. Hilarious. I mean, I love the. Excuse me. I love the original old Smokey and the Bandit franchise. I love that. All right. So before I start, make sure you guys all like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think. Hit the notification bell, and hit all so alert of when I make and hit all so alert of when I make brain uploads. All right. So without any further ado, let's begin. So the mighty Pontiac Firebird. Here we go. So the Pontiac Firebird's the Pontiac Firebird's an American the Pontiac Firebird's an American automobile, American car, built and produced by Pontiac from the 1967. This is from the 67 to 02 model years. So it's from 1967 to 1967 to 2002 model years. Designed as a pony car to compete with the Ford Mustang, to compete with the Ford Mustang. To compete with the Ford Mustang. It's introduced on February 23rd. So around late February 1967, 1967. So 1967, 5 months, 5 months after GM's Chevy division's platform sharing Camaro, which that happened on September 1966, presumably. Yeah, September 1966. So 5 months after GM's Chevy division's platform sharing Camaro. This also coinc- this also coincided coincided with the release of the 67 Mercury 19 of the 67 Mercury Cougar Ford's upscale Ford's upscale platform sharing version platform sharing version of the Mustang. The name Firebird was also previously used by previously used uh, by GM. GM. So the name Firebird was also previously used by GM for the General Motors Firebird Firebird series of concept cars in the 1950s. So concept cars in the 50s. All right, next up, as always, overview. So manufacturers obviously by Pontiac and GM General Motors. Production production was from February 23rd, 1967, 1967 to August 30th, 2002. Model years was obviously from 67 to '02. Body and chassis next. The class was both a pony and muscle car. Layout was front motor rear wheel drive. Platform was obviously an F body, and it was related to the Chevy Camaro. Obviously, because it kind of does look like a Camaro. I mean, the Gen 4 obviously looks like a Gen 4 Camaro. Pretty cool. All right. So the name Firebirds also previously used by GM for the General Motors Firebird. General Motors Firebird series of concept cars in the 50s. So in the 1950s. Next up is the next version we're doing is the Gen 1 from 1967 1967 to 1969. But before I do that, I'm just gonna get a drink because this cold is just kicking my ass. I mean, literally, I hate being sick, but I'm trying to get better as much as I can with they drink medicine, but it was not enough, apparently. But I'll be back. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry, I'll be back. I'm just gonna drink. I'll be back. I'm back. How much percent I got? Let's find out real quick. 8%. Try to as fast as I can before I will continue with the charger on. But we'll see how it goes. All right. Anyways, so the first version we're doing, which is the next part, is the Gen 1 from 1967 to 1969. Overview, as always, is first, so let's do it. Yep. I have to try and get it better as much as I can as possible. But we'll see how it goes. Alright. So, wait a second. I didn't think I did the overview first one. I think I did. Then I can't remember. Let me just do it real quick. So overview for the first one was the manufacturer was obviously Pontiac by GM, General Motors. Production was from February 23rd, 1967. So February 23rd, 1967 to August 30th, 2002. Model years was obviously 67 to 02. Body and chassis next. The class was both a pony and muscle car. So the class was obviously both a pony and muscle car. Layout is front motor, rear drive. Pretty good, proper layout. Platforms and F. So platforms and F body, and is related to the Chevy Camaro. All right, now we're doing the Gen 1 from 67 to 69, so 1967 to 1969. Overview, as always, is next, so let's do it. I feel like I'm dying with this cold. Honestly, it's just crazy. All right, so moving on. So overview as always. Overview as always. So let's do it. So here we go. So production was from February 23rd, 1967 to January. So February 23rd, 1967 to January 1970. Assembly was at these 3 locations in these 3 states in the U.S. So the first location was for the 1967 to 1969. So 1967 to 1969 car. Its first location was at the Lordstown Assembly, which is known as it was at the Lordstown Assembly, which is known as the Lordstown Complex, which is located in so it's known as Lordstown Complex. So it's a factory. So it's a factory building. So it's both a factory building and automotive manufacturing plant in in the village of Lordstown. So village of Lordstown in southern Trumbull County, Ohio. So Trumbull County, Ohio. Sorry, I haven't been doing these cars for months right now. Like God Lord, it's been a long time since I've done something like this before, but I'll try and give these more of a chance. but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, um, so his first assembly was obviously for the 6769 car. So, so his first assembly was at Lordstown Complex in the village of Lordstown in in southern Trumbull County, Ohio, which is part of the Youngstown, Warren metropolitan area. The next location was for the 6869 car, which was located at the Van Nuys Assembly, which is a General Motors or GM automobile factory located in Van Nuys, San Fernando Valley, um, in Los Angeles, Los Angeles, California, which thankfully the wildfires have officially ended. Even though there might be a little bit in some parts, but most of it is completely cleared out. And LA is officially safe. So possibly in the near future, I might possibly move to LA. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll I'll see what happens. Gotta be careful because you never know if these wildfires. You never know if these wildfires will happen at any moment in time, or like anywhere around LA, because it's been happening since I think it was 2023 or 2024. I can't remember. I think it was last year or the year before. I'm not 100% not 100% not 100% too sure about that, but I don't know. But yeah, either one of those two, either one of those two years, it might have started. I'm not too sure, but I'm not gonna go into like too much detail about this because it's gonna get boring and whatnot. Anyways, so the second assembly plant was at the Van Nuys assembly in Van Nuys, San Fernando Valley, California. So San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, California, for the 1968 to 1969 car. And its last assembly plant was at the Norwood assembly in Norwood, in the city of Norwood, Hamilton County, Ohio. So Hamilton County, Ohio. Um, that was for the 1969 version. Designer was Jack Humbert. Jack Humbert. Uh, body and chassis next. Body style, two types you could choose from a two door is either a so two types you can choose from a two door is either a coupe or convertible. Either way is perfect. Either way is perfect. Um, platform was an F body. Platform was an F body, and it's related to the Gen 1 Camaro, which essentially looks exactly like the first gen Camaro, which is a pretty cool car. And people will get confused a little bit thinking is it a Firebird or a Camaro because they look exactly the same. I don't know, but I don't know how they did that, but it's cool. Anyways, so next up is powertrain. Starting off with the motors. So we got both a 3.8 liter 230 and a 4.1 liter 250 Pontiac single overhead cam inline sixes. So inline six motors, and the rest of them are Pontiac, and the rest of them are V8s. So we got the rest of the other three are. So we got five motors. Two of them are inline sixes, which I just talked about just now, and yeah, the rest of the three are V8s. Pontiac V8s to be exact. The first one was the 5 point The first one was the 5 point was the 5 point was the 5.3 liter 326 volt 327. Then we got then the 5.7 liter. So the first V8 was the 5.3 liter 326 or 327. The second one was the 5.7 liter 350. So the second one was the 5.7 liter 350. So 5.7 liter 350. And the third one was the biggest one ever. The six the six point the 6.6 liter 400 V8, which is slightly bigger than the 6.5 liter 396 that you find in a 67 Camaro that you find in a 67 Camaro SS, which essentially looks exactly like it. So it's point 0.1 liter, 4 cubic inches bigger than the Camaro's motor, the Pontiac V8. Transmission, four types you can choose from. Two are automatics and two are manuals. So for the automatics, you got both a two speed and a three speed, two speed and a 3 speed. So two speed and a 3 speed. Turbo Hydra, automatics. And for the other two manuals, we got a 3 speed and what I would always go with a 4 speed, manual. That's perfect. Dimensions is next. Yeah, it gets boring doing this. Man, it's a bit it takes forever, doing this. But well, I just decided why not. Wheelbase. This is all for 1967, by the way. Don't forget. Just mention that. It's all for 1967 because I think for the 68, 69 versions, I think they had the same exact dimension levels as. Because I think for 1968 and 69, I think they had the exact same dimension levels as 1967. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they might have had the same. I'm not too sure. I don't know. I don't know. But I think they might. Anyway, so the only dimension they don't have is the curb weight. I don't know, for some reason, but oh well. Wheelbase goes in at 2746 millimeters, 108.1 inches in wheelbase. Length goes in at 40. Length is 40. 40 4,796 millimeters. 188.8 inches in length. Width, so 188.8 inches in length. Width 1844 millimeters. 72.6 inches in width. And height goes in at 1308 millimeters. So width 1844 millimeters, 72.6 inches, and height goes in at 1308 millimeters, 1308 millimeters, 51.5 inches in height. All four for 1967. All right, moving on. So let's begin. The Gen 1 Trans Am or Firebird from 1967 to 1969. So the Gen 1 Firebird had 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 a characteristic Coke bottle, so Coca-Cola bottle, styling, styling shared with its cousin. So styling shared with its cousin. So shared with its cousin, the Chevy Camaro, announcing announcing a Pontiac styling trend. The Firebird's bumpers were integrated integrated into the design integrated into the design so integrated into the design of the front end, giving it a more streamlined a more streamlined a more streamlined look than the Camaro. The Firebird's rear slit taillights taillight taillight taillights were taillights were inspired taillights were inspired by both the 66 and 67 pon inspired by these two Pontiac cars. The 66, 67 G 66, 67 G 66, 67 66, 67 GTO and the Pontiac Grand Prix. Both a two-door hardtop and convertible. Both two-door hardtop and convertible. Um, were both two-door hardtop and convertible were offered through the 69 model year. I'm not talking about the Pontiac Grand Prix. There we go. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Originally, 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 the car was a the car was a consolation prize for Pontiac, which had desired to produce a two seat sports car, more like a two seat muscle car, uh, based based on its original Banshee concept car. It's a Banshee concept car. However, GM feared this would cut into the Chevy Corvette, Chevy Corvette, Chevy Corvette, Chevy Corvette, Chevy Corvette, Chevy Corvette sales. So Chevy Corvette, Chevy Corvette sales, and gave Pontiac a piece, and gave Pontiac a piece of the pony car market by sharing the F body platform with Chevy. The listed retail price before options for the coupe was $2,666. Last year that would be equivalent of $25,141 last year, 2024, and the convertible was $2,903, less than $3,000. Back then, last year would be equivalent of 29,432, which is essentially under $30,000 back in the last year. Which is essentially under $30,000 last year, which is pretty good money. Not too bad, not too bad. The 67 base model Firebird, uh, came the 67 base model Firebird came equipped with a 3.8 liter Pontiac 230 SOHC, so single overhead cam inline six motor, based on the architecture of the standard um, Chevy 3.8 liter Chevy 230 inline six. So 3.8 liter Chevy Chevy 230 inline inline six. It was fitted with a one barrel. Yeah, it was fitted with a one barrel. It was fitted with a one barrel. It was fitted with a one barrel Rochester carburetor and rated at 165 horsepower. Unbelievable. 165 horsepower is not even 165 horsepower. 165 horsepower is it's not even close to being enough, honestly. I mean, 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower, yeah, but 165? Man, oh man. I'd think twice if I were you to do that kind of power. I mean, inline six. I mean, yeah, but if it was a V8, that would be. If it was for that power for the V8, that would be suicide. Just suicide. 165 horsepower. Unbelievable. Anyways, the Spirit Model 6 um, came it came with a came with a four barrel four barrel so four barrel carburetor, developing a bit more power than last time, an extra 50 horsepower more than last time, uh, developing from 165 to now developing 200 215 horsepower, which 60 horsepower increase. That's pretty 60 horsepower increase. That's pretty damn good. I mean, I'm sure it might not be like a huge, like gigantic improvement, but still, it's a good improvement and well enough. So developing 215 horsepower, just pretty good. Most buyers opted for one of these three V8s. The the 5.3 liter 325 with a two barrel carburetor producing 250 horsepower. The four barrel the four barrel um, um, HO high output 326, so same motor but a little more powerful, producing 285 horsepower. Or the one I would personally would have is the 320 300 is the 325 horsepower. That's right. 325 horsepower. 325 horsepower. 325 horsepower. Um, uh, so 325 horsepower. 6.6. Oh, wait. Hold on. Alright, I need a drink real quick. I am legit thirsty, so I can't even talk properly with this. Anyway, so okay, there we go. Sorry. Alright, so most buyers opted for one of three V8s. The 5.3 liter 325, so 5.3 liter 325 with a two, so 5.3 liter 325, well, not 325, sorry, 5.3 liter 326, there we go, with a two barrel carburetor producing 250 horsepower, bringing it the four barrel high output or HO 326 5.3 liter producing 285 horsepower, or the one I would have, the 325 horsepower 6.6 liter 400 V8. So 6.6 liter 400 Pontiac. Or the one I would have, the 6.6 liter 400 V8 from the Pontiac GTO. All 67, 68, 400 CI V8s had throttle, throttle restrictors that blocked the carburetors' secondaries. So that blocked the carburetors' secondaries secondaries from fully opening. Ram air options available. So a ram air option was also available. So, so it was also available. Providing functional hood scoops, higher flow heads, with stronger valve strings, not strings, stronger valve springs, sorry, and a hotter camshaft. Power from the ram air pack was still the same as the conventional 6.6 liter 400 high output V8, but peaked at 5,200 RPMs. The 3.8 liter, so 3.8 liter 230 inline six motors, inline sixes were subsequently enlarged for 1968 to 4.1 liters. The base version, the standard version, developing an increased 175 horsepower using a one barrel carburetor, and the high output sprint version um and the high output sprint version, the same 215 horsepower with a four barrel carburetor. Also for the 68, also for the 68 model, the 5.3 liter was so the 5.3 liters replaced by the 5.7 liter 350 Pontiac V8 motor, which is a 5.7 liter 350 Pontiac V8 motor, which actually displaced 354, which was 5.8 liters, and produced 265 horsepower, which is pretty good. Pretty good with a two barrel carburetor. Pretty good with a two barrel carburetor. A high output version of the 5.7 liter 350 V8 with a revised camshaft was also offered to start in that year, which developed 320 horsepower, which is pretty good amount of power. The power output of the other motors were increased marginally, so marginally increased. There was an additional Ram Air 4 option for the 6.6 liter V8. So for the 6.6 liter V8s during the year 69. So 1969, complementing the Ram Air 400, now often colloquially but incorrectly called the Ram Air 3, a name never used by Pontiac. The Ram Air 4 is rated at 5,000 RPM for power and 3,400 for torque. It was rated at 345 horsepower and 430 pound feet, 583 newton meters of torque, which is pretty good. Um, and respectively at 335 horsepower, say 335 horsepower, the 5.7 liter 350 high output high output motors high output motors revised again. High output motors revised again. So revised again. So revised again. With a different camshaft and cylinder, most different camshaft and cylinder heads, resulting in 325 horsepower. During 1969, the end of the 1960s the end of the 1960s before the start of the very early 1970s. During that year, 1969, a special 5 liter, so 303 motor was designed. So designed for SCCA Sports Car Club of America, um, road racing applications that weren't available in production cars. Mods for 68 included the addition of federally mandated side marker lights for the front of the car. The turn signals were made larger and extended. So turn blinkers or turn signals were made larger, both larger and extended to wrap around the front edges um, of the car and on the rear and on the rear. The Pontiac V shaped V V shaped so V shaped um, uh, arrowhead logo was added to each side. So to each side, the front door vent windows, the front door vent windows was the front door vent windows was replaced with a single pane with both a single pane with a single pane of glass, single pane of glass, single pane of glass, so glass, single pane of glass, and astro ventilation, and with a fresh air inlet or air intake system. So air intake system. The 69 model received a major facelift, um, with a new front end design. So new front end design, new front end design. Um, but unlike the GTO, it didn't have the Endura bumper. Both the instrument panel and steering wheel. So instrument panel and steering wheel were revised. The ignition switch ignition switch was moved from the dashboard to the steering column to the steering column with the intro of GM's new locking uh with the intro of GM's new locking ignition switch slash so with the intro of GM's new locking ignition switch, so locking ignition switch, or LIS for short, locking ignition switch, or locking ignition switch slash steering wheel, so slash steering slash steering wheel. In March 1969, the end of the 60s, before the start of the very early 1970s, a $1,083, well, last year was equivalent to 9,286, close to 9,300 bucks, less than $10,000 last year in 2024. Optional handling, optional handling pack, called the Trans Am Performance and Appearance Pack, UPC W, UPC W, UPC 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 WS4. So UPC WS4, named after the Trans Am series, which introduced which introduced wait. So in March 1969, the end of the 60s before the start of the early 1970s, a $1,083 equivalent in last year, 9,286, less than $9,300, $9,300. So $9,300. Optional handling pack called the Trans Am Performance and Appearance Pack, UPC WS4, named after the Trans Am series, was introduced. A total of 689, less than 690, less than 700 hardtops, and 8 convertibles, less than 10 convertibles almost, if you add up, were made. Due to engineering problems that delayed the intro of the new 70 Firebird, beyond the usual fall debut. So beyond the usual fall debut, Pontiac continued production of the 69 model Firebirds into the early months of the 70 model year. The other 1970 Pontiac models had been introduced on September 18th, 1969. So September 18th, 1969, by late spring of 69, Pontiac had deleted all model year references. So model year references. Now, on both Firebird literature and promotional materials, and anticipating the extended production run of the anticipating the extended production run of the then current 1969 models. Next is production totals. So for the models, there's 4 versions. All of them are 2 doors. So the first one we got is the hardtop coupe, followed by the convertible. Then we got 2 Trans Am models. First one's a coupe, then a convertible version. So, So for the two-door hardtop coupe, they sold in 1967 67,032. Um, then they sold 15,520 15,528 convertible versions. Then for 1968, they sold 90,152 coupe versions, and a little bit better, 16,960 convertible versions. So it's a bit better than 67. Then for 1969, the final year, they sold 75,000 75,000 75,362. So 75,362 coupes, 11,649 convertibles, and they sold 689,000, not thousand, sorry, just 689 Trans Am coupe version, and 8 convertible versions of the Trans Am. Reason I didn't do the Trans Am versions of the reason I didn't do the Trans Am versions of both the coupe and convertible for 67 and 68 is because they didn't sell it for those years. Total for 1967, 800. So total for 1967, 82,580. So 82,580. Not 80, sorry. 82,560. Sorry, I couldn't even see that well, even up close. So 82,560. For 1968, 107,000. 107,112 were sold. Then in 1969, they sold a total of 87,000 87,708. Okay, last up is engines. There's not much on there. I thought there was going to be a lot more, but no. So starting off with the first one is from 1967. So, so, for 1967, it had the 3.8 liter 230 Pontiac SOHC inline six, making 165 horsepower. I'll do in order for the years. Then came along same engine size, but the W53 Sprint 230 CID Pontiac SOHC inline six. The first one made 165 horsepower. That version now, what I just talked about, after the first version, the second one, the W53, made 215 horsepower. So 50 horsepower more than before, but still not so much, but still pretty good increase. Then we got the 5.3 liter. Then we got the big V8s. Starting off with the first one is the 5.3 liter L30. So 320. So 5.3 liter, 326. So 5.3 liter, 326 L30 Pontiac V8 motor, which made 250 horsepower, which is not bad. Not too bad. Then we got the so it was 5.3 liter 326